Freedom Design Institute, our free class 2024. Super excited to have everyone here. El Nivelador, what's the count in our Twitch chat?
174.
Nice, not bad, not bad. We're probably gonna get some more people joining us as we carry on. All right, so quick introduction to our partners in crime here. So I'm Matt Friedman. I am your class instructor. I'm a 20-year veteran of the industry. I've worked in startup and QA, worked my way up to design. I'm now a design and creative director, do contract work and all this kind of stuff. I run this school, which we started last year, had a lot of success with it. And this free version is us just trying to get this out to a wider audience, help more people start in their design careers. All right. And of course, we have the man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyways. Somehow we managed to get El Nivelador to help us out as our community defender. So he's here to make sure everyone is taken care of. If there's any ne'er-do-wells in the chat, he's gonna take care of those guys as well. If you saw his last match against El Humbo, you know he is not a man to be trifled with. The best community defender. I'm amazed we were able to get this guy.
It is a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, El Nivelador. I got some people joining me here in chat from the community, just to kind of make this a little more social, just so you guys aren't all watching a big wall of text, or it's not just me being okay, according to chat. You know, so we're going to be cycling through different students every single week. So if you want to join us in the video chat, send me a message either via email or over Discord, and I'll add you to the list. Okay, so as I said, I'm Matt Friedman. Been in the industry for about 20 years. Worked on some big titles. Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead, FIFA, Max Payne. Helped launch the MythForce IP here in Edmonton. I've been in the industry for a long time. I've worked on a lot of stuff, including a bunch of things I've straight up forgotten about. So this is an incomplete list. Also, no matter how bad the game you make is, I'll bet it's nowhere near as bad as Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects for the Nintendo DS. That, if you've ever worked on a title that's so bad you actually question your own sanity, that was a really interesting experience. I'm like, it can't actually be this bad, can it? All right. All right, thank you so much. Some love for Axis and Allies there. But these are the titles I'm mostly known for. So we are going to be doing 10 weeks of design fundamentals. We're going to be focusing on core design skills that track across all genres, all tech. It's even cross industry. So a lot of these design skills also work within industries outside of game design, because design universals are just that. Good design is good design. As Sid Meier once said, good game design is just good design, and it really is. All right, so my job here is I'm here to help you all succeed as designers. That's what I'm here for. That's what El Nivelador is here for. We're here for you. Now, again, we've got about 1,000 students here. I'm going to do my best. I am also working a full-time job as a designer, and I run a charity, and we got a bunch of other stuff on the go. But I'm going to do my best to help as many of you guys succeed as possible. If you've got questions, please reach out via the email. We have that feedback link up there specifically so you guys can let me know what's working and what isn't working. Join us on the Discord. We got a very active, very supportive Discord community. They're fantastic. We've got a LinkedIn group as well if you want some more focused career advice there. Regarding notes, there will be a document that's uploaded that summarizes a lot of what's discussed in the presentation. If you find taking notes on your own helps you, that's great. But we will have a document in the class resources folder that will summarize what's discussed in the class. A link to the document, to the class resources folder, is in your student resources document, which you should have all received an email about. If you do not have that email, feel free to reach out and contact me at that email address at the top. So, why are we here? We're here to make the best design class on the planet. I've been in the industry for 20 years, more than that now. I've lost count. 22, 23 years. I'd have to do the math. Honestly, how this all started was I was having a really hard time hiring junior designers. A lot of them are coming out of post-secondary without the skills they really needed. I even worked for a little bit in post-secondary myself, and I saw a system that really just was not terribly interested in the future success of its students. I got so frustrated with it. I straight up just started my own design school. We had our first group of students go through starting last November. And in about 4 months, we were able to get them further than a lot of the other institutes were getting them in about 2 years. Employers really loved our students, and they're super excited for the next group of students through. We've got a separate paid program where they author a title, they publish it. We have big student showcases, all that kind of stuff. But once we had that success, I was trying to figure out a way to further grow the program. Interviewing with employers, educators, and potential students, one of these became really clear is like just adding a free program that's going to help teach some design fundamentals is going to be an excellent way of growing that. And honestly, I was expecting about 40 or so people to show up, and about 1,000 showed up. So a whole bunch of work has gone in to support all 1,000 of you, because I want all 1,000 of you guys to succeed. So with us making the best game design class on the planet, it's all going to start here. Now, question for everyone who's with us. Does anyone have a problem with us making the best game design class on the planet? If you're not interested, let me know. This might not be the class for you. I'm just saying. Why not universe? Excellent question there. Because like, fuck, dude, the 6-dimensional design class on SETI 15, those fuckers are really good. They're really good. I'm trying. We're gonna get there eventually. We start with our planet, then we go after SETI 16. All right. Yes, let's fucking go. El Nivelador.
Before we start, there's seeing someone ask if there will be links to the paid course in school after the stream.
Yeah. Yes, we do have links to the paid course. Much of the website's been redone to support the free program. There are links to the paid course, including links to the student games that are made as part of the paid course. Actually, exciting thing, one of our students has now started off, standing start, had never made a game before, has now published his first game. He's found his own company. He's getting featured in Alberta, big Alberta Game Conference. His game got specifically chosen. We're super proud of his results. That's The Broken Ceiling is his game that he's working on. But yes, there's links in the, can there be 2 best classes? There's Alex Brazi's. I don't know Alex Brazi's, unfortunately. But I would say, unfortunately, I'd say there can really only be one. So it's going to be me v. Alex. We're going to see what happens. Though we did, as part of this program, we've been reaching out to hiring managers at some of the big 5 game companies. We've gotten references from about 3 of them, sat down with their hiring managers and their HR leads to be like, all right, specifically, what are you guys looking to hire? What are your biggest problems? And those are the skills we want to be teaching students. And we've distilled as much of that into this program as possible. Certain way, our goal here is we want to make students employers can't wait to hire. We want to have the best students on the planet, and that's going to start with good, solid design fundamentals. All right. So Johnny Utah, he approves. I think we keep going. So, anyways, this course, we're going to be focusing on fundamental design skills. There is such a wide range of technology and genres and platforms. Teaching anything specifically would not be a fruitful endeavor, shall we say. There's just too much stuff out there, but there's commonalities across all of them. And that's why we focus on design fundamentals. These are skills that will work if you do level design or mobile puzzle design or multiplayer design. There's design commonalities. Also, one of the things that a lot of the employers were saying for a lot of these big companies, it's like it's not specific tech skills that they're looking for, it's the ability to learn skills, the ability to be customer focused, these sorts of things. Those are things they really want. So, fundamental design skills applicable across all design disciplines. The class does not require any advanced technical knowledge. We're going to be doing paper-based design because that way it's going to work for all you guys. And again, these skills will be applicable no matter what the game development platform you're working on is. And the class is intended to be very challenging. Certification is provided at the end of the class. I think it should be obvious that certificate does not have value if it's a rubber stamp certificate. If you can just show up to the class and get a certificate, that undermines its value. This program is designed to be challenging, very challenging, but we've got a wonderful, supportive community. I'm also here to support you. El Nivelador is here to support you. We want you guys to succeed. Part of that success is we've got to be tough. We've got to be challenging. Oh, Michael Goulis says if you guys need a hand with marketing, God, that's a fun thing. This might terrify some of you, but I'm actually starting to transition into marketing because I was on so many projects. Like I did great games and it would come out and no one would know about them. I was like, you know what? I got the design thing figured out. I love design, super passionate about it. But man, I need to be able to pick up the marketing ball as well. Like, if no one knows about your game, no one's going to play your game. It doesn't matter how good that game is. That's not how word of mouth works, unfortunately. All right. Oh, sorry. There was a bit of a confusion there about the message from Michael that was actually regarding grading, which, Michael, thank you very much for mentioning that because that's an important detail we've got here. We are looking for community volunteers to assist with grading. It's going to be a pretty simple process. We've spent a lot of time working on the design for homework submission. So grading the homework's actually quite straightforward. If you're interested in that, reach out to me directly, either via email or on the Discord. I'll also be sending out an email application to everyone just to check to see who's interested in assisting with the grading of student assignments. I'd love to be able to do it all myself, but if I did, you guys wouldn't be getting your assignments until sometimes in 2026. I already see some volunteers in the chat. Thank you so much, guys. All right, let's carry on. So this is our vision for the class. It's tough. It's gonna hurt. And honestly, that scar tissue is part of you learning. Failure and challenge teaches you so much more than continual success does. So many volunteers. This is great. Honestly, when you get a long career, you're going to have so many awesome scar tissue stories. You're going to sit around with coworkers, having drinks, sharing stories. But oh my God, that one time this happened, and all of a sudden, a deadline changed, or a tech stack suddenly fell apart, or like we were play testing, we thought everyone was going to work, and it turns out no players could understand how to open up the very first door they came to. And this is all the stuff you're going to start learning. Just like those fundamentals of design, and it's going to be deeply ingrained. But part of how we do that is we want to be challenging you guys. All right. So for today's class, we're going to be doing an intro to the class. which is what we're doing right now. Then we're also going to be doing a state of the industry, just going into where things are right now regarding the games industry as a whole. Bit of fundamentals of design, and then you lucky dogs, you get 2 homework assignments. Let's go. Are we ready? Chat, are we ready? We're not going until.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Ready.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. So, good news, everybody. Gonna teach you one thing, and after this, you could skip the entire class as long as you internalize this one rule. I know it's like a clickbaity thing of there's this one secret, but honestly, this is the one skill most designers really struggle with. And it's one of the things that's the foundation of everything we do. It's what I'm about, it's what El Nivelador is about, and that is our main rule is we are here to help. Design is not about showing how smart you are or being super clever. A designer helps the customer. The customer's got friction points. The game's too easy. It's too hard. It's too confusing. It's unclear. You, as a designer, you laser focus on that stuff and you help people. That's why I got the feedback link at the top, or the feedback email address at the top. If there's anything I can help with, if there's any feedback or anything that's a problem with the course, you let me know. I will fix it. That's the lesson you need to internalize as a designer. That's one of the key skills employers are looking for. It's the key element. It's the secret sauce in great design is empathy and helping people. That's the main thing. That's how you get them super excited about what you're making and the new thing, the new wonderful experience you're going to craft is because you are so focused on the customer's needs. Of course, they love what you're making. You've made it entirely with them in mind. So this just kind of summarizes what we've just gone over. Designers, your job is solving customer problems. That is the job. Employers are hiring you because you can solve their customers' problems within the employer's resources. As a designer, you never want to be going in, someone says, hey, we need you to make this, and you're like, well, you got to double my budget. Excellent design is efficient, it's clear, it's empathetic. Remember, like Nintendo is kicking ass with the Switch on hardware that's like what, 10 years old now? And even then it wasn't cutting edge because they've designed that thing so carefully. And it was the same for the Game Boy and the NES, the Wii, like the Game Boy Advance, the Nintendo DS, ancient hardware. But it's like, you know what? We're going to make this thing efficient, clear. Those are the main things with design. Oh, yeah, absolutely. GameCube is so fucking good. Also, shout out for the Dreamcast. Mwah, chef's kiss there. So, this is the kind of perspective you want to have with the customer is like, really, dude, you got to be focused on like, what do you need? What do you need? Is everything good? How are we doing? Are you having fun? Are you not having fun? Let me know. This is the thing that impressed employers most when they looked at our students is we do a student showcase where the students hand employers a game they've made, and all while they're watching the employer play it, they're like, oh man, we're going to fix that. Yeah, that's improved. Yeah, okay, so that's a new thing. Are you having fun? How's it going? How's it coming along? They were so focused on the person playing. The employer's like, yeah, this is what we need. Because like a good employee, can learn the tech skills. But what's really hard to learn is that empathy and customer focus. Oh, yeah, so EK720, the big difference is Nintendo actually optimizes their games. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. Honestly, frame rate and gameplay responsiveness is so important. It's, hot take, but that PS5 Pro announcement where they're like, hey, we give players an option between frame rate and fidelity. Most of them choose frame rate, but how about $1,000 console that focuses on the thing they told us they don't want? it's like frame rate and responsiveness is so important in an interactive experience. Like that's the thing, and that's one thing Nintendo's got pretty solid is their games. They aim for a good locked 60. If they have to, they'll let that drop to a good locked 30, but they don't let it kind of, it's not inconsistent or that kind of thing. That was a big thing as well. Call of Duty locked 60 all the way. When I was working at Rockstar, I would get like very irate emails from like top of management if a single frame dropped in the stuff I was making, because they just know it's like performance matters, man. All right, carrying on. So, tough question. Does anyone know who this is? Oh, Zelade. What does lock 60 mean? Lock 60 means 60 frames per second. Oh, yes, Dieter Rams. People know Dieter Rams. It is a man. It's a Scandinavian man, a very important Scandinavian man. Oh my God, Steve Jobs' brother Ed. Hot take, but Steve Jobs wishes he was Dieter Rams. Dieter Rams is one of the most influential designers who's ever lived. If you look around the room, chances are you're interacting with Dieter Rams inspired designs all the time. Like the modern smartphone pulls on the design fundamentals of Dieter Rams. It was about simplicity, clarity, confidence. A Dieter Rams design does actually less than his competitors, but that's what makes it so good. I even remember, this is me being a huge fucking design geek, but like I remember being 6 years old and getting a Dieter Rams designed Braun juicer, and I was like, oh my God, I can just make juice with this thing. It's so simple. Like it had a spinning spike on the top. You'd press a piece of orange onto, and the juice would just run down the spike, drain out the bottom, out, go out a spout. It was easy to disassemble and clean. It was only like 3 pieces. It was such a simple design. I was like, oh my God, I can finally like make juice for myself with this home appliance, which was, I could just instantly understand how it works. But this is the thing. Dieter Rams' primary design goal, he's like, again, it's all about empathy. It's understanding, as much as people may say they want bigger and better and flashier, they just want simple and clear and reliable and minimal. I don't want an appliance that's constantly being like, look at me, I'm a toaster. It's like, dude, just hang out there. When you need a toaster, I'll pull you out. You can toast stuff. You don't have to be this loud, overbearing thing. And just simple and reliable. All right. Sorry, just checking out what we got going on in the chat here. Somewhere. It's a closed caption for this stream. Unfortunately, we don't have closed caption. That's a really good suggestion. I'm going to look at getting that set up for our future classes. For this class, unfortunately, we do not have closed captioning.
But now, after this
Yes.
is recorded and posted on YouTube, you can use their captioning system.
Thank you, Omnivolador. That's why we're lucky to have you here. Thank you so much. All right, carrying on. So we've talked about the customer and basics of design, but what about you guys? That's the thing, because honestly, you guys are what I'm here for. You guys are my customer. So honestly, best way to learn design is get a job. Get a job doing design. And that's a large part of kind of what we're focused on here, is what those critical job skills are and those skills employers are looking for. Ultimately, like I talk with a lot of different employers, big companies, small companies, being an employer myself. Skills they're looking for, you got to be people oriented. You got to be able to work with a team. You got to be focused on customer satisfaction. There used to be a philosophy of like you could hire someone who's like super smart but kind of prickly. Generally, what we found, for all the decades that tech employment's been around, is that ultimately a lot of those employees that may be technically brilliant, but do not work well within a team, they're dragging down everyone else's productivity. And this doesn't mean you got to be a brilliant social butterfly or life of the party. Just don't be an asshole. That's the thing. If you're not an asshole, that solves most of the problem. Just be pleasant to work with, get your work done, be focused on making things easier for the team, making things easier for the customer. Oh, chef's kiss. Another thing they're looking for is ability to solve novel problems. Man, the games industry moves so fast. And if you're being competitive, you're on the frontier of the unknown. You're doing something new. You can't be a designer and someone's like, hey man, I need you to solve this thing. And you're like, whoa, I'm not trained on that. You'll have to give that to someone else. It's got to be, all right, that's my first time doing this, but I'm going to jump into here. I'll do a Google search here. I'm going to talk to that guy. I will get this thing figured out. You get an update in 2 days on how things are going. I'm going to let you know. I know some major hiring managers, and they're like, look, if you're in an interview and you don't know the tech skill, but you show confidence and you got a plan for how you will learn that tech skill, if you're like, man, I do not understand, or I haven't used Unreal's pathing system before, but I imagine it's probably similar to this one, or I'm going to go look it up for this specific YouTube tutorial, or I'll be looking here, I'll try that out, or like if you guys give me 2 hours, I'll come back with an example of this thing running. That's what they want us to hear. Because like, you know what, I've been on lots of projects where we get halfway through, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, by the way, we're now just suddenly changing our engine. Everyone has to learn a new tech stack. You got to learn it in like 2 weeks. So get going. And a lot of the stuff, it's bleeding edge. So like there is no training on it. You just have to figure it out. So you got to be able to solve novel problems. Another thing is being able to work efficiently. This is just like get your stuff done to the deadline within the allocated resources. It is like honestly, as a designer, take it as an offense if someone offers you more resources. Be like, fuck no, I'm going to get this done so simply and efficiently, it's going to blow your mind. Like honestly, like the design for that paid program we don't have grades, we don't have homework assignments because the students just focus on making a game and they just focus on play testing that game. And we set really clear objectives about where they've got to be, and we apply some social pressure and provide guidance about how they can be teaching themselves, like how they are teaching themselves and building those skills for solving novel problems. And it all just came together because they're not sitting around writing essays that don't really have an application in the workplace. They're not getting graded arbitrarily. They're not sitting around spending class time watching YouTube videos. They are just focused on making a game. And all those skills they're learning to make a game are the skills they also need in the job place. Like I said, one of our students, first time making a game after he finished our program, he just went off and founded his own company. He's like, yep, I understand how this works now. Small company, and it's an indie, but pretty good. Of course, last thing that employers are looking for is passion. Oh, question. Will we be learning some baseline coding in this class? We will be going over some computer science fundamentals, but we aren't going to be going in specifically into coding. But I want everyone to be aware of how a computer thinks about ideas. That will help so much with how you structure your design. A lot of people like to think about design in terms of like soft organic experiences or organic elements. Really, the computer wants to think about everything as yes, no questions or mathematical comparisons. We're going to go through that. We got a system for teaching fundamentals of coding that's actually entirely based on just language and dialogue. And is it as good as a dedicated 2-year programming class? No, it's not, but it will teach you the fundamentals of how to think about data structures and how computers interact with code. And that will just allow you to know how to approach these overall problems. Yes, syntax will come in time. Same thing. It's the thing. You don't want to just learn the specific syntax. You want to learn how the computer thinks about ideas because syntax changes all the time. All right. So, quick question to the people here with me in the call or in chat. Can anyone think about what the main skill employers want is? And this is from executive all the way down to entry level. There's one skill. Diego, what do you think it is?
Adaptability.
Adaptability, close, but that's not it. Flexibility, creative adaptability, ability to learn communication, learn teamwork. Teamwork's getting close. And this is a fun one because like understanding, okay, this is all pretty good. Thank God no one said AI. That would have caused my head to explode. All right. Foti, you got your hand up.
I would say communication.
Communication, it's pretty close. Harshad,
Is it initiative or taking action? Like,
initiative or taking
yeah.
action. Those are important. It's not what I'm looking for though. Michael,
Working well together on a team, like you fit as part of the group.
that's close. So on chat, empathy, problem solving, those are close. And this is one of the skills. Even a lot of employers don't realize this is what they're looking for until you ask them what was the background of their top performers. And honestly, this is even at people who do executive training when they've had this discussion. Okay, one more, Andrew.
Ability to listen.
Close. All right, I'm gonna jump in. Curiosity. I know this is all great. This is all great. But the main skill employers are looking for, the foundational skill, customer service. The number of people who are phenomenal employees, and you look at their background, and they got their start at like working at a McDonald's or like being at a bookstore. It's kind of funny. Even talk with some employers. I'm like, so how of your top employees? They're like, yeah. How many of them had a customer service background? They pause and go, wait a minute. I'm like, yeah. And even that's the thing, like this, for employers, this is now more important than like a degree from Yale. Because like honestly, a degree from Yale, all I know is you've got rich parents. What I need to know is that you showed up for work on time, worked with a team, you had grouchy, unpleasant customers, you still help them out. Because you will always have customers. Even as a CEO, the shareholders are a customer. As a designer, the players are your customers. Your coworkers are our kind of customer. Right now, as a teacher, you guys are my customer. I have to be focused on your guys' needs. And a lot of that starts with customer service. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, customer gets angry with you, you can't just take your ball and go home. You still got to solve their problems. They dumped a soda on your head, you still have to be able to solve their problems. And I know it sucks. And it doesn't mean you got to like it. You can be angry about it, but you got to get your job done. And you got to have them so impressed with how well you solve their problem. They come back, and hopefully they're in a bit of a better mood. Also, pro tip: if you got a really bad customer, you can fire your customer as well. That is a concept, an important thing to be aware of. But like, I want to hammer this home just a little bit more because like I was talking with a guy who does executive recruiting for like large companies, and he confirmed this. He's like, yeah, dude, like everybody needs to know customer service, even top level executives, because you've always got a customer, and they're always. If you got a good customer, it's not a skill. Yeah, it's so easy to work with a good customer. You got to be able to work with a bad customer as well, as frustrating as that is. So like all of you who are like, I know so many people who are like, my only background is like working in the trades or like mopping floors. It's like, dude, that's teaching you the fundamentals that you're gonna build your design skills on. It's you gotta be able. There's always shitty work, and someone's got to do it. You want to be the fucker who actually reaches out and does that. Now, there is a wrinkle with this. Certain cultures that are very hierarchical don't really have a like a customer service kind of obviously like I said, tradition. But even if you don't have a job in like a customer service role because you're in a very hierarchical culture, the philosophy is still the same. You still are going to be dealing with customers. You still have to care about those customers and deal with them even when they're being shitty. Oh yeah, mention customer service on a resume. I know like a recruiter for like one of the very big game companies. She directly told me she looks for customer service. I look for customer service in interviews. I'll ask people directly, do you have a customer service job? What did it teach you about design? And that's the thing. As a designer, you should always be looking for like improving your design no matter what you're doing. One of my favorite interviews was for an audio designer. And he was used to work as a woodsmith, or like not a woodsmith. Look at me and my words. A carpenter. That's what they're called. Words. He used to work as a carpenter, and I asked him about his experience, and he was like, you know, Matt, it was really weird. When I was on the shop floor, all of the tools have a different music. I was like, yes, that's the guy. If you're on the shop floor, if you're hearing the music of the noise around you, and you're an audio guy, it's like, yes, that's the guy I want to hire. And dude was fucking awesome. He was great. All right, Amar.
I had a question just kind of on the subject of service, right? So you
Yes.
mentioned that you work with a charity as well, right?
Oh yeah.
So when you're looking at potential hires, customer service is something you look for. How do you look at community service?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Thank you, Amar. It depends on the community service. I had a wonderful UX designer who would coach football. And that's the type of customer service as well. He was so freaking good. I had another phenomenal designer who would work with at-risk street youth, which is also really good. Now, the thing is, this is going to be a bit of a hot take here, but regarding charity work, if I saw it on the resume, I would need to dig in further. Because working in the charity sector myself, I know some of those organizations can actually be predatory. And that's a big concern. Like, it's just like, charity work is phenomenal. I think it is great, but there's good and there's bad. So like, for me, charity work wouldn't be a slam dunk. I would certainly be curious about it and mention it in the interview, but I would absolutely want to dig in deeper to make sure that they're properly aligned.
Cool, thank you.
Oh, no, you should absolutely include customer service on your CV. I wouldn't like overload it with customer service, like not every single Joe job, but like, if you worked on McDonald's for a year, include it. Like, you know what? You maintained efficiency at a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You had to deal with challenging customers every single day. A good employer is going to want to see that. We have a suggestion in the chat about how to get real-time captions on for Twitch. Thank you very much. It's in account settings, extensions, creator dashboard. Okay, so I think it's actually I think that the real-time captions are a me thing, so that's a setting I'll have to do. That's you have to wait for the next stream. Okay, carrying on. So building on this, your job is to make the game customers want to play, not the game you want to play. And I know that's gonna sting. This is us breaking those ribs, and like, I know everyone's got that game they're passionate about, and like, it's your dream, and you're like, this thing's gonna be great. Maybe it is, but you got to make it for the customer. If you're making it for yourself, you're gonna run into so many problems. You're probably gonna have more luck buying a lotto ticket. I know so many studios where like the CEO's been like, man, this is my dream game, and my buddies love it. It's like, dude, what you have to do is like get someone you don't know playing your game, and you're not allowed to influence them, and see if they're having fun. And if they're not, you still got work to do. Because customers, they just come from, the ether. You don't know who's showing up to play your game. You can try to guide it and guess, but you've got to be making the game the customer wants to play. Okay, Diego.
Yeah, another thing that's important with this is that you are the only person that it's never going to really play the game that you're making, because you know all the secrets, whatever happens. You will never be surprised or experience the thing that you designed for the players to experience. So just play another game, design what you like to design.
Yeah, I that's gonna sound crazy. Ideally, in a certain way, you should hate the game you've made, because you worked on it so hard. You know where all the problems are. Like, man, it might shock you guys to know I still can't go back and play Marvel Nemesis: Rise of the Imperfects on the Nintendo DS. It's too close. It's too near. But also like Red Dead Redemption 2. That one's a tough one for me to go back to because I just go to it. I'm like, oh, I never fixed that. Oh, that's still a problem. Oh, we were supposed to do this and it never occurred. It's like John Carmack, the former CTO of id Software, one of the best programmers on the planet. He hates everything he's ever written, even though he's literally one of the best programmers on the planet. Harshad.
Sometimes you end up with something that's probably unique, and it's something that players don't know they want to play.
Oh
And
yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah.
how do
Excellent.
you end up with that?
Excellent point. That's a good one. That's my favorite quote from, oh my God, the guy who wrote Alan Moore, famous graphic novel writer. He's like, you want to show the thing that customers didn't know that they wanted to ask for. Show them things they didn't realize they wanted. Now that's different from just doing something that's novel. It's like you got to know the customer really well, see what they're interested in, see what those patterns are, and you're going to see a direction that those patterns are going in. And you're like, you know what? I bet with what everything's interested in, and like with my own personal skills and the kind of projects you like to work on, because like you got to be passionate about what you're working on. As I like to say, a game customers love to play that you love to work on. That's the sweet spot. Is you're going to try to see, okay, where are they going that no one else is thinking about right now? This is like the thing. It's like, yeah, I know everyone loves playing a hero shooter 8 years ago. The best time to start one of those would have been 15 years ago, not right when hero shooters are popular. It's like, yeah, and extraction shooters are popular now. When do you think your one's coming out? Are they still going to be popular then? You gotta, to be super Canadian, you skate where the puck's going, not where it is. Right, yeah. Checking the chat. How much does the paid course cost? The paid course is $15,000 Canadian. So we're getting our students further than the 2-year programs at other schools, and those are generally $60,000. Also, at the end of our program, our students are featured at one of the largest gaming conferences in Canada, where they get center floor coverage of their games, and they also all get featured on a Steam promotional event. And you know what? If you don't gain employment within a year, we refund your tuition, no questions asked. I'm here to help you guys find jobs. So if it doesn't work, that's on me. You get your cash back. It's 4 months long plus 1 year of employment support. So we do 4 months of game development. Then we're with you for a year to help with resumes, job applications, interviews, salary negotiations, all that stuff. See, where to get this amount of money if I'm unemployed? That is an excellent question. If you are, if the tuition is a barrier, reach out to me directly. We do have grant programs. Yeah, 60K. So a lot of the post-secondary institutes, their 2-year programs are about $60,000. So a lot of the game design programs end up being about $60,000 when it's all said and done. Oh yeah, you can do the paid class anywhere in the world. We had students from Canada, US, and Kenya last time. Oh no, not Kenya, Nigeria. Okay, Andrew.
Is the paid program full-time, part-time? What does that student demand look like?
It is part-time. All of our students work full-time. And a lot of that just because, yeah, we just focused on those fundamentals of like just making a game. You will learn how to make games by making games. Crazy idea. All right. Yeah, it's entirely online. All right, gonna carry forth. All right, so want to get a bit into the state of the industry. Also, so I just realized we've gone long, so we're at time. How's everyone doing for time? Does anyone have a hard stop? We good?
I can
All
go
right.
on.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. All right, so I want to go over a couple numbers with you guys. So a few people are getting hungry in the chat. Don't worry, we're in the last third of the class. So numbers are 7% and 1/2. What do these numbers mean? They're so mysterious. So what these are is 7% is the number of people in the world who own a dedicated gaming machine, and 1/2 is that's the overall size of the industry versus a large tech company, in particular Apple Computers. 7% of the people in the world are actively playing games on a dedicated device, and that number's very generous. It's probably lower than that. Yeah, that's a thing. It's 7%. 93% of the people in the world, gaming's not working for them. And like I said, with the entire industry, Sony, Microsoft, Steam, mobile, all of it is still only worth 1/2 of Apple computers. Yeah, this is the thing, is that like this is an industry with a lot of room to grow, but this has also been where it's been at least for market penetration, the 7% for a while. I think a lot of the console manufacturers are starting to realize there's about 120, 140 million install base limit, which is I think one of the things you saw with that PS5 Pro announcement was Sony admitting they're not sure how to expand their market anymore. So to push their profitability, they're just increasing the costs, you know? But this is actually good news because this sounds like a design problem to me. Design's about solving customer problems, and we've got 93% of the world is like, we're not super interested in games. There's probably a design failure. We know the tech's great. We know the art's great. I think design is where we're going to move this stuff forward. And it's going to be, this is us going into the unknown, but let's push these. Yes, it does include PC. So generally the statistics are for Steam. It's a little harder to get. No, 7% does. So actually, I want to clarify a couple good questions here. Does this include the mobile player base? It does not, but hold up. This is for dedicated gaming machines. Most people on mobile, while they do game, it's very low engagement. And I was digging into those numbers, it's still the entire mobile gaming ecosystem, with I think it's supposed to have about 2 billion users, is still only generating revenue that's about equivalent to that of the dedicated gaming devices. So the commitment there is quite low. And it's one of those things, if the mobile phones were to go away, those people wouldn't be transitioning over to dedicated gaming hardware. They would just stop gaming. I think that's a would it be a deficit in the quality of the product that we're making. And I'm not to say I want to be over the native like, I don't like gaming. It's like, dude, there's a version of this that is going to be much more successful and much bigger, but we're going to be achieving that by innovating and moving things forward. Game design, we are not gatekeeping games. I think we could also do a lot to make games a lot more welcoming and interesting. That's a discussion for further in the program, because we're going to dive into this a little bit. All right. So, digging a bit into design. Yes, actually, I just want to mention one of the things in the comments. Mobile games are horrible games. There are some really good mobile games, but a lot of them do have some pretty predatory structure, and it is not. I think the mobile game market is in trouble. Like a really concerning trend. Have you guys seen all those fake mobile game ads that are out there? It's like, for me, that's like a huge, alarm bell for issues with the mobile industry if they're having to resort to false advertising. It's really concerning. So like there's a market there. I think we need a better way of approaching it. So going into some of the important, I guess, kind of to take all the disciplines apart and kind of give them all a, I guess, to illustrate their application, I'd say engineering makes it work. Absolutely required. If it's not working, you don't have a product. Art makes it aesthetically interesting. Also super important. The aesthetics is what draws people in, creates that initial emotional engagement. But design makes it useful. If it's not properly designed, people will not use it. That's why I'm saying that 93% of the people that aren't playing games, that's probably a design issue. Our tech's great, our art's great. I think this is design. Harshad.
Yeah, it was coming back like to the mobile games and the number of like fraudulent ads out there. But more than that, the interruption in gameplay. Like you only have these many lives to play at this certain
Yep.
time, then you have to wait for it to recharge, and like you're just pulled out of that experience, and then you just get frustrated at that point. So
Oh, totally. Or like the number of times I open a mobile game and it's pulling me in 8 different directions of like daily quests and loot boxes and
yeah,
new unlocks. And I'm just like, oh, can you please just let me play the game? Or like, I remember, God, there's one game and they have like those daily login rewards. If you skip a day, when you next time you log into the game, it just punishes you. It's just
yeah,
fuck you. You didn't sign up because you were busy living a life. So shame on you. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't think I want to play with you anymore. I think I'll just uninstall you because you're being kind of a dick.
And intrusive ads on every click.
Oh God, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. This is the thing. When I mention mobile games, no one's like, wait a minute, those are amazing. Everyone's like, oh, fucking Christ, they're false advertising, they're constantly interrupting you, they're confusing, they're noisy. Thing is, I love the mobile segment. I think its current implementation is deeply flawed. I love making games for people wherever they're at. All right, carrying on. Design makes it useful. So much of what we do day to day, from door handles to pens to smartphones to traffic signs, a lot of these were design problems. Cities operate because people can move around in them. There's a wonderful traffic sign system that is surprisingly consistent across all countries and cultures, and it lets people know how to navigate the city reasonably safely, not 100%. I love the like some of the stuff. It's just like these are almost boring designs, but honestly, that design for the Bic crystal pen there, before that, pens were so expensive and they break so easily and they were complex and you had to have like a separate um, ink well to be dipping them into. And then Bic comes along and says, here's a very simple design. It's cheap. It's clear what color the pen is. These things generally don't dry out unless they're like, left without the cap on in the hot sun for ages. Even the cap is carefully designed. The ridges around the body of the pen, carefully designed so it's nice and comfortable and it kind of like locks in a little bit there in a way that an entirely circular pen doesn't. And this is why you now see these pens everywhere. It's such a good design. It's just become pen. Diego.
Yeah, just going to mention one interesting detail about the pen cap is that the little hole at the tip is so that children don't suffocate. It's thought
Yes.
about people just
Yes.
biting it and putting it in their mouths and then swallowing it, and it's there to help them reach the hospital.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's design. It's like, man, like you got to think about like fuck. Your customers will have small children. Those small children might bite cables, put things in their mouths. Children explore the world orally. They like biting things and putting things in their mouths. So like, heck, even Nintendo did that with their Switch cartridges. They put a additive to the plastic to make them sour. So you put it in your mouth, you'll just spit it back out again because they're worried about kids swallowing them. It's legitimate. And that's just good design. It's like no matter what, that big pen is great. You're not sitting there worried about big pen related fatalities. All right. I think Switch cartridges are tasty. They're an acquired taste. All right, but also I got an example here of Tetris. Does anyone know how many units Tetris has sold? Question for the chat. Does anyone know how many units Tetris has sold? Little high there, but it's at 500 million. It's at 500 million units. It's sold more than Minecraft, actually. Minecraft's at about 130 million units sold. Tetris is at 500 million. And like, look at it. It's so simple. Like, there's a wonderful Tetris documentary coming out, and the opening of the trailer for it is the designer of Tetris, whose name's escaping me, Pachinov, I think. He's saying about how 5 cubes would have been too much. That is 13 different permutations, but 4 cubes only allowed for 5 permutations, and that was the perfect number, just enough complexity to give variety, but keeping your cognitive load low. And the fascinating thing about Tetris, they keep trying to change it or make it novel or add new rules, and they just keep coming back to that same basic rule set with some small tweaks regarding, like we have here, drop location preview, or like a next piece preview, and some small rules about rotating your piece in certain edge cases. And this is like, man, good design. It's simple, and then this becomes viral because everyone's like, "Oh, this was so easy and enjoyable to use." Tetris Blitz was really good. Also, man, Tetris Effect. Tetris Effect is amazing. I love Tetris Effect. Tetris and Game Boy, such a classic. All right, moving on. So we write the future, and it's going to be something new. I know everyone's talking about making the next Grand Theft Auto. I even made the next Grand Theft Auto. And the next Call of Duty. Oh, back in the day when the next one was Grand Theft Auto 5. But you know what? We have the numbers on these. Most people don't play these games. Like Grand Theft Auto's got, not 2% of the world, or maybe 1% of the world's playing it, which is a lot. But that's also 98, 99% of the world has been like, yeah, not for us. And same thing for Call of Duty. If we're moving this forward, it's not going to be by making these things again. It's going to be something new, something different. And you know what? We're going to get there by everyone working their hardest. You guys are going to be trying your best. Everyone's going to move us a little further towards that goal. Some of us are going to move us a little, perhaps a lot further, but we're going to work our best, do our best work, be customer oriented, do amazing designs, and that's how we're closing that gap. Yes. Like I said, best design class on the planet, soon to be best design class in the universe. All right. So, fun. So, weird design things, like some words when you zoom them in, I swear I misspelled that when I first typed it out. I'm like, that's a weird looking word. Anyways, fun. The critical thing, and like I know with some designers there's a tendency to try to downplay fun because like, oh, we want to make it immersive or tense. It's like, oh, you want to make it enjoyable and engaging. Let's just call it fun. It's like, if I'm making a movie, I want it to be entertaining. It's like, well, what if you want to be somber? It's like, well, come on, we're splitting hairs here. Fun is what this is about. You don't want a game that feels like someone's second job. Even if it literally is a second job, it's still fun. There's one of my favorite games is TIS 100, which is about assembly level or assembly language programming. It's a lot of fun. It really mirrors what I do professionally, but I do really enjoy it. It's much more fun than actually just like straight up debugging. It's great. Just checking what we got going on in chat here. Yes, rules, objectives, and some we'll discuss the main objectives. Have fun.
Adler X has a good question about the
Yes.
recent remastering of old titles and releases for new games based on the old series. insinuating that the industry does not want to be taking risks.
Oh yeah. That's absolutely. It's become a risk averse industry, which for the customers just makes it dull. It's a huge issue. If you don't want to take risks, you wind up with oh my god, Suicide Squad, Marvel Avengers, Concord, like
She-Hulk.
oh god. That's the thing is that if you're overly safe, then you wind up with like taking the biggest risk of all. It's like things are great when they've got some bite to them, when you roll the dice, when you're being creative, when you're being artistic. Though I will say the She-Hulk comics are pretty fucking awesome.
Mm.
All right. Yeah. It's tough on these, but like, so I've worked in the indie sector for a while as well, and like yeah, it's that can be very tough. But again, like one of my favorite bits of advice, and this was talking with Rami Ismail, who's worked at Vlam, or one of the guys for Vlambeer. He said when he started the company, you know, it was Vlambeer is successful because Rami had the business on the front of his mind with everything he was doing. All the creative decisions, he's like, look, at the end of this thing, it's a business. I have to figure out, make a great game that, works within our budget and we enjoy making, but we've got to figure out a way of selling this to people. That's a big step a lot of indies forget. Is like, it's a business. It's not a hobby. You've got to keep in mind what your business practices are going to be. Foti.
One thing that always confuses me about game companies is like because we are talking about fun, they have the communities that give feedback on their games about what they should do to make them more fun, but instead they disregard these feedbacks and they just implement stuff that are silly and pay to win and stuff like that. And I always wonder, like, how do they benefit from it? Don't they lose players?
They don't benefit from it. uh, Hot take, but honestly, in my humble opinion, a lot of the people that are running some of these companies do not understand the business that they're in. I was even in an interview for a major company at like a large leadership role, and we're talking about business strategy. And I'm like, look at guys, job one, players are having fun. If they're having fun, they're sticking around the game, they're recommending it to friends, and then you can monetize however you want. DLC or subscription services or whatever you want. Because that was one of the things I want to know is how do we scale our business? I'm like, but job one is fun. If they aren't having fun, nothing we do will get them to stick around. And it's just, it's just not going to work. And honestly, they didn't understand it. It was the weirdest thing because like, well, no, are we supposed to somehow trick them into giving us money? It's like, no. If they're having a good time and love your product, they will happily engage with it. Like, let me just grab something off my desk right here. Just a second. So I don't know if you can see this. I'm a huge fan of the designs of Akira Toriyama and Dragon Ball. I think it's great. It's one of my favorite IPs. There's a line of like collectible soda cans that feature these really nice chibi renditions of his characters. And like these things are like $5. Whenever I see them, I'm like, I do really want it. I do really love those designs, So every now and again, I spend way too much on a can of soda just so I could have a cute version of Goku or Vegeta or what have you. And they hired some really great artists on this stuff. I'm like, yeah, because like you know what, it's a product I've loved. I had fun engaging with it. Oh, actually, yeah, really interesting thing that is mentioned in the chat. You're 10 more likely to buy a game for an upfront free rather than get it for free and pay for gameplay later. Yes. if people have invested resources into the acquisition of something, they are much more likely to actually engage with it, which I think is a bad habit the industry's gotten themselves stuck in now, is like chronic Steam sales and Game Pass and free game handouts. While they are technically great value for the customer, if you think about it, how many of those things are you actually playing? Generally, they just go into a giant pile and you just never touch them, you know? So you got a metric that looks good on paper, but ultimately, like, if I'm making a game, I want people playing it. So anything I'm doing that is discouraging them from playing it, if they're just acquiring it and putting it in a giant pile, I feel that's a huge problem. You know, I want someone acquiring the game, playing it, having a great time. They recommend it to their friends get a copy, they play it, they're having a great time, they recommend it to their friends, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Diego.
Yeah, just regarding the free to play games, the idea is that more people will enter the game. They will just try to push you until you beat the friction of the first buy, and once you're over that first paywall, you will be more engaged with the game. You will be more invested emotionally, so you will keep paying for them, to paying to the developers for more stuff in the game. So that's the idea, and
Yes,
it
yeah, yeah.
it has led to really, really, really awful practices, but it has also led to really good games that are free to play, like Warframe. So
Mhm.
it can be done correctly. It can be done really well, but it can also be done really, really awful.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing as well, like the customer is something to be cherished and protected. They're not your personal piggy bank. You know, it's like if they're giving me their hard-earned money and their hard-earned time, that's because I've made something they are genuinely valuing and they're super happy about it. All right, we're I want to be respectful of your guys' time because I know you're all got stuff to do. As much as I love us all being together, so I'm gonna charge through a few more of these slides. So, fun, fun results from good design. Players want to have fun. A lot of designers I know they'll feel like fun is something they're trying to smash into the players. Like no, if they have said they're playing a game, they're already cognitively primed for fun. You just have to stay out of their way. So like the players naturally want to have fun. Poor design will frustrate that process with things that are unclear or there's too much friction or it's confusing. I like to say fun is not built, it's nurtured. That's where you want to be like very sensitive to what the player is doing. See what they're naturally trying to do, how they're naturally trying to play, and encourage that. Maybe you got to structure it in a little bit, but oftentimes when I'm watching a play tester, I'm like, oh man, I guess we are now making this game much more inventory based because everyone seems to really be liking our inventory system. All right, we're leaning into that. And the weird thing is, then they start having fun and they love the game and they're like, okay, great, I can't wait to come back to this thing. It was great. Um, example I have here is like, there's a very good reason why football slash soccer is the number one sport in the world is because it's simple, it's clear. I can explain it, very clearly. We've got two teams, maximum 11 players. Uh, Move the ball into the opponent's goal. Don't touch it with your hands. And then there's additional rules about like no physical violence, etc., etc. But like it's pretty straightforward. Also, you only need like a ball and people. You can mark the goal with just some sticks or lines in the sand. It's a wonderfully simple game. It's a wonderfully elegant game. It's fascinatingly self-balancing as well. There's very low instances of substance abuse in football because generally the additional muscle mass reduces player mobility, so they don't really dope all that often. Also, all-star players don't dominate plays. They're important, but it really is a team sport. It's great. Let's see what's some stuff in the chat. It's like an aspect, but some people don't. Oh, if some people don't like your game, try to understand where the friction's coming from. And this is the thing. Generally, I don't want to ask them, well, what don't you like? Because they will then gravitate to the most recent point of friction. I'm trying to establish almost like a pattern of behavior. And this is something we're going to get into later on in the class. It is, I refer to it as a cognitive stack. You will start to notice friction much earlier in the experience, but you'll complain about it at its most recent element when you're asked a question about, okay, what don't you like? So for example, let's say I've got a very subtle amount of input lag on a first-person shooting game, particularly with firing. Just subtle enough, it's just below the threshold of being cognitive. Players will probably instead say that the enemies aren't interesting because that's the last thing they were focusing on. And they're like, well, I don't like the enemies. It's like, well, how would you fix it? Well, there should be more enemies, or the enemies need to have better graphics, or et cetera, et cetera. Really, their problem started with that leggy input. They just didn't realize it. And this is where you put on your designer hats. This is kind of, I kind of refer to this as the EMT, the emergency medical technician. You're like, okay, what's the problem you're having? What's the exact, you're probably telling me the symptom. Let me drill down and figure out what the exact cause of this thing really was. All right, Diego.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to make it too long, but I would disagree with that friction impedes fun. I would say it kind of delays it sometimes, but sometimes it also helps enhance fun. Like there are games where the beating that friction is what makes the game fun.
Yes. Now, I want to make a distinction between friction and challenge. Friction is where, again, we'll be getting to this later, but it is where you've got a level of confusion and you're constantly having to recalibrate your cognitive model of how something works at a fundamental level. Good example of this is like, have you ever like used a remote control in the night and you press the wrong button and then you got to like stop watching the TV, look at the remote, be like, okay, what the heck, what is it, It's that those little moments of friction are pulling you out of your experience. You just want a remote that's doing what you want it to do. It's like there is the challenge of like a good Dark Souls boss fight, which is great. But if it's difficult because the hitbox on my weapon is really unclear, you don't want to have that. That just makes it frustrating. Diego, does that answer your question? And just okay, thumbs up. There we go.
Yeah, it's just good. Just defining precisely what you mean with friction that settles it.
Yeah, no, excellent question. Thank you so much. All right, pushing on. So fun is going to be continued on next week's class. So of course, I got to put in a reference to Adam West Batman, the best Batman. Tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel. But first, we've got homework assignments for you guys, you lucky devils. For those of you at home as well, if you're watching the recording of this, please engage in the homework. Get the stuff in. Homework, absolutely. 2 assignments. 1, you're going to write a short autobiographical essay. And the second one is what's called the event. And we're all going to go and help someone this week. So, autobiographical essay. This, again, if there's one thing you do in this class, this autobiographical essay, it is the most important piece of homework for you to do. I've done it myself, and it was hugely beneficial. I'll be doing it as well. I know El Nivelador did this. It helped make him the man he is today. What I want you to do is you're going to write thoughtfully and honestly about your goals and life events. You are not to submit this. You're to write. This is a private writing assignment. All we need you to do is just fill out a form verifying that you did it and write down what your final word count is. Just write a little bit every day. Do it thoughtfully and carefully. I've been astounded at the huge amount of improvement this has made on people's focus and their ability to pursue meaningful goals. A lot of times, we've all had challenges, and a lot of that stuff, it just weighs on you, and it really makes you apprehensive about really pursuing your goals. This just helps you to kind of get that stuff aligned and straightened. So if there's one thing you could do, like Ozzy, you could do the autobiographical essay and then just skip the rest of the class. You're still going to get a huge benefit from this. Yeah, basically an autobiography of your life so far. There's a specific structure to it that is provided in the course material. So make sure that you're following that structure. It's going to help you just to make sure that you're being thorough, honest, and open. And again, private writing, you don't submit it. Oh yeah, if you're, this is the thing. If you're wrote as an old drug trafficker, yes, like open and honest. Most important thing to do. My charity works with people who live on the streets and have substance abuse problems. Some people have had a hard road, man, and that is a-okay, you know. What if they aren't? Yeah, you want to be as specific as possible. You want to be as thorough and honest as possible. And again, like I said, you don't hand it in. It's private writing. Okay. Next bit of homework, something I'm just calling the event, and that is this week, I want you to challenge yourself to help someone. Push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. What you do, that's up to you. But like, if you're already volunteering at the soup kitchen, don't just show up to the soup kitchen again. Push yourself to help someone. And the key thing is like this is about learning that empathy as designers. Remember, our job here is to help people. You got to understand their pain points. So when you're helping someone, make sure you're listening. As cheesy as it is, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, and really try to understand their needs. Then what I want is Friday, day before class at 8 p.m. your local time, just post the event, hashtag the event 2024 on your preferred social media. And hopefully what we're going to see is a whole bunch of rolling social media posts where we'll all know that all of us took some time this week to help someone, to listen to their needs and understand them. It doesn't have to be something huge. You can just be like giving a bottle of water to a homeless person or helping someone move or having like a tough phone conversation. But again, challenge yourself to help someone, and it is preferred if you keep the specifics of what you did private. That's just to avoid cases where someone's like on Twitter doing a selfie of them like handing a homeless guy a sandwich or something like that. Like that's undermining the spirit of what we're trying to do here. What about people who don't use social media? If you don't use social media, that's fine. I'd say just send me an email or like this one as well. Just submit. There's a submission form for this one as well. And there's a text box for social media links. You can just write down, don't have social media, but I did partake, and you don't need to share exactly what it is that you did. That's LinkedIn, DLCs. Being Elden Ring DLC, will that count? Man, helping someone in a video game, I think there's a version of that would count, but I couldn't tell you exactly what it is, and I'd be suspicious. I don't know if that's exactly challenging yourself in quite the spirit that's intended here. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. All right. Okay, wait. I don't have 60K. If you're talking about the paid program, it is not 60K. It's 15. It's 15,000 for the paid program. Saying the general standard for a post-secondary institute is 60K. We are not doing that. It is 15,000. Okay. There we go. So that's it. Last slide. Does anyone have any further questions? Oh, sorry. Question about submissions. There's a student resources folder that's part of the, a student resources folder that's part of the student resources document that everyone has. That will have forms for you to fill out, and that's how you submit your homework. Okay, thank you. Someone just posted the student resources doc to the chat. Thank you very much. Discord link. Will Matt be attending the Game Camp meeting this month? Yes, Matt will be at Game Camp. That's an Alberta event. Also, we are trying to make a Friedman Design Institute live event that'll be in Edmonton. That's probably going to be towards the end of November. If you guys want to show up, and we're all going to be at a nice facility called Edmonton Unlimited, we're going to hang out, share a class together, go for a meal, hang out. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Let's see. Yes, you will get a certificate for the free course provided you're doing the homework in a way that is thoughtful and engaging. And that's the thing. It's like, do the autobiographical essay. It's important. Challenge yourself to help someone. It's important. We're building up that empathy. That's that key design skill. You're doing it on a fundamental level. Okay. Does game design degree matter for getting a job? Not really. They want to see published gaming. Now, at the same time, we are trying to make the certificate for this free program something of value. And I've been working with a lot of employers and educators and independent game designers to zoom in on exactly what that is. But this is, quite frankly, there's a real problem in design education right now, in development education, where a lot of the institutes that are offering certification, their reputation is so poor. If some employers will see these institutes on your resume, they will now discard the resumes. So it's rough. You're spending a huge amount of money for an education that is harming your opportunities in the workplace, which fucking sucks. Again, that's why with the paid program, we actually don't offer a certificate for that. It is just a published game. And that's the thing. That's what you take to the employers, is a published game. Ironically, we're offering a certificate for a free program, and we're working very hard to make sure that certificate is of value. 2 forms of the certificate. Yes, we do have 2 forms of the certificate. One is for just a basic, like if you just, honestly, there's a version of these assignments where you can just do the basics of it. And I know students can be pretty smart. If you really, really want to undermine the educational effort and just, find a way of just doing the basics and just, what would it be? Completing the letter of the assignment, but not the spirit of the assignment. Like in this case, okay, you did the work, but you're just getting an attendance certificate for that case. I want to see you guys really working hard, and then you're going to get the more premium certificate. The exact name of that we're still determining. Gold tier certificate. I'm not sure what it is. It won't be gold tier certificate because I already hate that name. Okay. Do we ship games at the end of the workshop? The ship games are for the paid version of the program. This one, it will just be a paper version of a game. So we're going through a game development process on paper. In the game industry, entry-level game designer, every company needs an experienced person. Yeah, entry-level roles are tough. I would recommend starting off in QA. That's where I started. Just get a job in the industry, and then you can start moving up. I know a lot of people who started off in QA. The creative director for Witcher 3, he started in QA. Okay, are we working on a game as part of the free program? Yeah, you're working on a game on paper, so we won't actually be making the game. If you want to be developing the game while we're designing on paper, that's fine as well, but we are just designing a game on paper for this one. As a game designer, to see in Unity or Unreal, I'm not quite sure what job seekers are actually looking for. This is an interesting one, Unity versus Unreal. Right now, most hiring managers are looking for Unreal, but I know Unity is starting to surge in popularity as well. Unity allows a lot more flexibility than Unreal does. All Unreal games look very much like Unreal games. Unity games, it's not as performant. I wouldn't be using Unity for AAA. I want Unreal for that, but for most, I think the most interesting design space and development space for games is an indie, and that's Unity. For specific skills within those, I think it's just going to be those fundamentals of just making a game and just being familiar with the tool sets in there. They do too much for me to drill down to anything specifically. Are you the one who decided to make RDR2 so detailed? No, that was. I'd say yes and no. I do work really hard in all my designs to try to accommodate for as much player agency as possible. So all the stuff I work on, I spend like a lot of late nights being like, okay, what if they do this? What if they try that? How about this thing over here? I never want to be taking guys out of gameplay. So there's a lot of interactive details in my stuff, but stuff like shrinking horse testicles, I was not that guy. Already work as an intern at Craft, and that is fucking phenomenal. That's great. Unity, Unreal versus Game Maker Studio 2. Game Maker Studio 2 is a great place to learn. If Unity Unreal is too much into the deep end of the pool, Game Maker Studio 2, mwah, fantastic games have been made with that. You need to be able to make a game. The chat. Godot. Godot is interesting, but it's still very niche. It doesn't have the support that a lot of large companies need right now. That could change in the future, but for right now, if I was running a company and looking for financing, I would want to make sure that like our tech stack is backed by, you know, an Epic or a Unity. When it comes to engines, create a game design document first, and depending on what your game needs. I would say one of the things we're finding with game design documents, be very careful not to over design your game at the front. You want to have clear creative objectives, but detailing what every single level is going to be, you just really don't need that. The joke in game development is like, we all wrote the game design document. Now it just goes in the bin because we're making something else. And it's like that. Like, those things do not succeed or do not sort of survive the actual development cycle. But it's a good way of rallying your thoughts. Okay, Discord was mentioned a couple of times. Yes, we have a very active Discord community. You guys are awesome on Discord. There's a link to the Discord in your student information package. Could someone please post the link to the student information package in the chat again? Feel free to skip this. Well, fuck you. I'm not skipping it. About your experience, specific projects for insight and such. We're going to get into specific projects later on. We're almost an hour over time, so we got to wrap this up, unfortunately. Thank you for posting the share. Okay. All right. I think we're good then. Thank you so much, everyone. Sorry about some of the tech challenges we had at the start, but I appreciate everyone's patience. El Nivelador, what's our final attendance count we got in our chat?
164.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up.
Been
And again,
fluctuating.
yeah, and again, this will be available on YouTube. All right. Catch you guys later.
Have a great
wonderful
day,
weekend.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.